I said before his draft he would be the best player picked in his draft. And this is a bad man now playing in the shadows in Arizona. For the record now, he does not have an Earl Thomas and a Cam Chancellor to sort of back him up. He can't lean on them to control the middle of the football field and to discourage any receivers from even attempting to go over the middle of the football field. Patrick Peterson is 6 feet tall and 220 pounds, and just in a vacuum, I think he's a superior total package athlete to Richard Sherman. Total package. This man is big, strong, and very fast. As a rookie, as you know, he had 4 punt returns for touchdowns. So just in a vacuum, I think total package, I think he could ultimately end up being a little better than Richard Sherman, but he hasn't backed it up. And Richard has these stats. It's funny, Richard's relying on the negative stat of I'm least targeted. You know, like nobody throws at me. I don't even know if there's a number for that. How many times were you not thrown at? Well, I don't know. But after a while, people were afraid to throw at Richard Sherman. He's got the stats. He backed it up. But I don't doubt that long-term, Patrick can be better than Richard Sherman because I just think he's a little more gifted than Richard.
Patrick Peterson only had 3 interceptions to Richard Sherman's 8.
Had 7 the year before, though.
You could make the argument that Patrick Peterson deserves some money comparable to that of Richard Sherman because of his versatility, what he could do in special teams as well.
And remember, he even caught 6 balls last year.
Exactly. He caught 6 balls last year. He plays on special teams, so he doesn't just play corner.
Yeah.
Okay? But because Richard Sherman is a Super Bowl champion, because he had to go through what he had to go through to prove himself, because, you know, he's so important. See, I look at the Cam Chancellors and the Earl Thomases, and the fact that Richard Sherman is still able to stand out speaks volumes for me, which is why I'm going to flow with Richard Sherman in this argument. Not to say that you're wrong, because Peterson is all world, and there's no doubt what he can do, and he's versatile. And I think the money that he deserves, it should be in the ballpark
I agree.
of a Richard Sherman.
Yep.
There's no question. My only issue with my man Richard Sherman, and put this camera on me, please. Why do you have to? This is none of your business. You're talking about a man's money here. Come on, Richard. You know what I'm saying? I mean, listen, I like Richard Sherman. You know that. But my point is, you're stepping over the line. Come on now. There's nothing in this quote where this man said anything to begrudge Richard Sherman.
Yeah, no.
When Richard Sherman has called out other dudes in the past, I didn't mind that because they instigated it. They brought his name up.
Yep.
You understand? Well, if they brought somebody else's name up, they also questioned him. So I understand having that proverbial chip on your shoulder. What did Patrick Peterson say about this man? I'm going to read this quote again.
Read it, darling.
We'll see. Got to ask the Cardinals. I mean, I think I am, but at the end of the day, both sides have to agree to terms, and we'll see what those terms are, and hopefully sooner than later. There is not a scintilla, a speck of any kind of illusion whatsoever to Richard Sherman. He isn't disrespecting Richard Sherman. He isn't doing anything. But you're going to come out and you're going to say something about him where you could potentially mess with his money? Why would you do that? For what, Richard? For what?
Is he refueling for next year?
I'm just saying.
He's trying to get
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say that I'm going to pull out the brother card.
Okay, do it.
Especially when it comes to the brothers. You don't mess with dude's money. You see what I'm saying? It's like you want to go up against him. You want to compete with him. But because of all the things that we go through in life, which Richard Sherman can speak to better than most folks, you know, from Compton to Stanford, from Stanford to the NFL, and having the 22 dudes picked ahead of him in this position. I mean, all of this other stuff. Let's be clear. You know the path that you had to take, and you can relate to what Patrick Peterson had to take. The dude can ball. We know this. He's highly skilled. He's competitive. Why are you coming out at this dude and messing with his money?
I don't think, in Richard's view, it was about the money. It's about being the best cornerback.
I understand that, Skip, but that's a comment that could have been saved once the contract is signed.
Right.
You could have waited.
Don't put any
But you're gonna put it out there when this man's team is at the table trying to get him his money. Come on, core decency. Core decency in this regard. I love me some Richard Sherman. I love how he performs. You know, I love the fact that he's got that chip on the shoulder and backed it up. Not disrespecting this man. And I think that the education